Hello, hello. Today I am honored to have Bhargavi Varma, an online connection turned into a friendship. She is incredible in so many ways, a dynamic entrepreneur, should I say. She's got a diverse background as a film publicist and then a CPG marketer. Bhargavi has transitioned into entrepreneurship by founding Social Lockbox, a social media agency tailored for realtors. She further showcased her innovative spirit by co-founding The Cushy, a luxury foot cushion brand, which we need to talk about, and her latest venture, which I am just so inspired to talk about today. Bhargavi established Brown Girl Angels. If you don't know about it, you have to go and see everything that she's doing. It is an angel investing collective dedicated to activating wealth and amplifying the voices of brown girl founders. Woot woot. This initiative aims to mobilize South Asian women to engage in angel investing, fostering inclusive and equitable access to funding brown girl entrepreneurs. Now, this is the best part because beyond her professional endeavors, Bhargavi is a devoted co-parent to her son Adi, and she shares her journey openly about solo parenting, navigating a 7-year divorce, and commitment to personal growth. Her career is so multifaceted, and her personal experience offers such great insight into entrepreneurship, investment, and the empowerment of women in business. So, in today's episode, we chat with Bhargavi about brown girl wealth, one of my favorite topics, investing, impact, and breaking barriers. Welcome to the Wellthy Woman Podcast, Bhargavi.
Thank you so much for having me. This means the world.
How was that intro? Did I hit everything?
Yeah, that intro felt like, oh, I'm feeling 50 this year. Like that was a lifetime of a roundup that I really appreciate.
I was going to say, I actually, when I told you to come on to the podcast, I was like, perfect. Because I remember the last time we spoke, we're like, we should do these like yearly conversations, kind of check up and see where you are, where I'm at. And I would say from the last time we spoke to now, girl, like I want to know everything. When I was putting these questions together, I'm like, where do we even start? But I kind of built a framework, but I wanted to start with like, what's your vibe? What's your energy? How are you feeling?
The word that I keep using in the small conversations and the big is I finally understand what it means to feel aligned to your work. And I say that with the caveat that that's not a necessity for everybody. There are people who feel like my work is my work and my passion, but this idea of being aligned in something that means a weight, it has weight and gravitas to you, that I have to say this is the first time I've really felt that, because what I'm doing finally feels like it's just an extension of me. It feels like, of course, that would
like
make sense that I'm
natural.
doing this. And that it's taken me this many years to get here and feel this way.
Wow. I was going to say, I feel the same way. It's interesting because I feel like as much as people are online, you can truly tell when it's energetically aligned or if it's just something someone's doing. And I've seen you shift from like Social Lockbox. So let's get into your entrepreneurial journey. First of all, you were in New York. I need to know everything because I was stalking your stories. How was New York?
New York was all the things that represent that city, and what that city, when I say that, it means many things to many people, but it represents giving it a damn shot. It represents the energy of trying, the energy of the word that I have a love-hate with, hustle. It represents that. Yes, I think we're all like, we went through our...
But Toronto, I feel like, is that too, right? Do you feel like that? I feel like everyone's hustling or...
Yeah, I think so. But I guess in some ways, just from a sheer population point of view, Toronto feels like a microcosm. Maybe that's also different industry to industry. In some industries, this is where the shit is at. And then, is this a swearing? Is this a swearing pod?
We talk how we feel.
We talk how we feel, right? Okay.
We do.
It's like,
say that again?
I was like, hold on. Filed under things my mom and dad aren't seeing. No, I don't mean that.
Hey, listen, not now, not anymore.
Not anymore. So New York felt just energizing, again, full circle, scary, nervous, exciting, all of the words that I think also encompass everything I'm doing with Brown Girl Angels.
This was your first event in New York, correct?
It's my first event in New York for Brown Girl Angels.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Not even Toronto, huh? You went straight to New York.
Yeah, and you know what? We can talk about that because, I did host a holiday party for Brown Girl Angels at my home as a thank you. So I did do an event and that's part of, I think, what is really important with Brown Girl Angels is that it's not an American story. It's not a Canadian story. It's not an India story or a Bangladeshi story. It is the story of South Asian women globally, because we are all on the same path to create financial options for ourselves. And that is a global story of a brown woman.
I don't think I know any brown woman doing angel investing. You are the first person that I know, to be completely honest. So
that's
for me
change.
too.
That's amazing to hear that, but that's going to change.
And that's what you're doing now. So
Yeah.
I actually want to circle back to what you said in the beginning. You said that this is the first time you feel aligned, and I want to take the audience back to your journey for entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So if you're saying this is the first time you feel aligned doing a business, you have actually ran multiple businesses. Walk us through some of the first few businesses that you stepped into that wasn't feeling aligned and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think, and the hope in sharing experiences, because I find I'm not an advice person. I'm a here's how it went for me, and if this resonates and you pull from it, great. First of all, being an entrepreneur is in and of itself something that happened because it was a default choice because I needed to stay home for my son who wasn't completely well. So going back to work full time, because I was in the privileged position of being able to have that choice, the choice to stay home was a choice I took. And from there, like with many women, where we are moms, but we realize there's this other part of us that we're like, oh, but we want to still keep the brain active. We want to still keep that other pre-baby part of us active and energized. That's kind of where the journey around entrepreneurship came. And so the first business and I don't want to bore your audience too much, but
you're not bored. This is great, okay? Because it's meant for people and women that want to start. The first business that I started, Lux Story Media, I will say that it's not that I wasn't aligned, but it was a business that made sense for my work experience. My work experience at the time on the corporate side of things being from film publicity for a major movie studio, and then moving into consumer marketing, so consumer-facing marketing for beverage brands. The evolution into let me now run a business that takes both of those aspects of experience and finding a gap that I don't feel was being served in an adjacent category was how Lux Story was formed. It was a travel content company pre-Facebook video. Oh, wow.
So I'm not even talking Instagram, pre-Facebook video.
Yeah, that is
like
eons ago.
2014.
Wow.
And this is the thing that it just shows the amount of progression that social has had.
And that's not that long. 10 years we're talking about.
Ago. I would go to conferences, travel trade conferences, and they would look at me like, video? For tourism, like it never made sense.
You were ahead of your time.
Ahead of my time.
So did that business translate to what it...
That did translate. We were doing well, but it was still we're needing to explain to you why you need to do video. Again, it sounds ridiculous right now to say this stuff.
It does,
because now the space is saturated. In fact, it's a reason that the company shifted away from that after the pandemic. But that is an example of to make sure there's kind of value for ways for women and for people to think about entering entrepreneurship and what it is the idea might be for you. It's either you're finding a gap in the market, gap in an adjacent category of something that's working well in another category, or you're finding something that's a personal extension of who you are that you might already be doing in your life for free, which is what we see now when we think of all these content creators. They were just doing what they always loved to do, and now they've made a business out of it. I would say that first business for me was I saw a gap in an adjacent category of something that's already been done and being done in film. So aligned might not be the word I would use, but an extension of my personal experience.
And good for at that time.
And good at that time.
Yeah.
I needed a way to manage my own hours. I mean, the mompreneur story. So it made sense at the time. Pandemic, of course, like with many people, businesses ebbed and flowed and pivoted, and ours was one of them. I mean, travel content after in the pandemic, there was none. There was none. And
our company stopped working, our travel company, for 2 years, right?
So that's right. So the girls' trip.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that when you transitioned into social lockbox then? Okay.
By
so
that
what was
point,
that?
we were already starting to look at adjacent categories for content marketing, and from travel, going into real estate felt like a natural shift. And so we had, by that point, fortunately, already started making content for real estate developers and real estate clients. So when one fell, the other kind of lifted. And then the extension of that business became, wait, we're producing content at a higher price ticket for real estate developers, but who's making content for folks who need just a digital presence and who need a digital profile but don't have the time to do it? And that was the evolution of Social Lockbox and how Social Lockbox came to be. Again, that was found the gap at the right price point, and that's why that made sense. And so that space was a space that I will say, again, I want to also just talk about it not just in the here's what I wanted to do, but also in the here's what didn't work.
Please.
Social Lockbox in the real estate market, when the real estate market has been what it has for the past few years, with real estate agents themselves also feeling a hit, one of the first things to go are the things that you think are, I could do without. What am I promoting on my social feed when I haven't had a listing in whatever months? So we got the idea right, the timing wrong. And in the midst of all of that, this lovely other product that I kind of was a little like, I don't know if I should be doing this, but it'll be a fun thing to do because I've just never tried consumer products.
I was going to say, I want to know how that happened from a service-based business to a luxury foot product. That was also, these things that I think have kind of come into my life, and sometimes I'm kicking and screaming and doing it anyway, and then sometimes I'm saying, oh yeah, I see this and this is what makes sense. The foot cushion itself is something that's widely used in Japan, where my brother is based, and he brought it as a gift for the family once, and it was, sorry if my brother watches this, but it was one of the ugliest prints I've ever seen on a foot cushion. And I used to use it, though. I would use it all the time. I'd had it under my desk, and one day my best friend and co-founder in the company came over and said, what is that? And I'm like, oh, I literally cannot work at my desk without this. I just put my feet in there, and it's comfy. It's not like an electric heater, but it's just the right temperature to keep my feet cozy. And one conversation led to the next, and she said, wait, this is not in Canada. We should do this. And do you laugh when you think about this?
I laugh when I think
because you almost want to chuckle now.
Yeah, because I'm like, people are starting businesses with no information and no knowledge. Wonderful, but it's the whole, how do the young people say it? A foot cushion was not something that was on my bingo card. But it was. But apparently it was. And you dive in, you try and learn, you make expensive mistakes, and you find the right fit and not the right fit, the right people, not the right people. You go through all of that. And
so just to be clear, can you tell the audience what exactly it is? Yes.
Yes. The Cushy is a cozy, oversized foot cushion that you use in all the moments you want your feet to be comfortable in your life.
That's a great tagline.
Under your desk, while traveling, I take it on flights that are like a few hours long, like 3+ hours, my Cushy's with me. Like after a point, I want to keep my running shoes on or whatever that is.
I would use that. But as a business, in all honesty, how did it do? What happened?
The mistakes that we made, I would say, were around the small MOQs that we did, which the price per unit was exorbitant. So we were not hitting margins that keep the business sustainable. Our margins were too low, and then ad marketing, add this, all that, and trying to kind of keep up with what everybody else was doing. We fortunately had a small run of 3,000 units. Thank God. Sold through them all. Great. But at that point, it was an inflection point of, okay, well, we're in deep. We could definitely make this money back if we do another run. Because by now the product had already gained some notoriety. We had some really great folks like the Home Edit, like
I was just going to say
Reese Witherspoon's book club, like putting it in the gift guide. So, but the momentum was there. And I talk about this like it's past tense, and so this is the insufferable, person who loves her baby Cushy. I don't think of it as already kind of 6 feet under, and I've already given it its funeral. It's not the goldfish that we put down the toilet. It's a product that might come back one day. Okay. It's just on hiatus right now. There's a bigger mission in my life that I feel really connected to, that I feel, there's that word, really aligned to, that I need to give my all and pay some attention to right now. So Yes. So that's kind of how I feel about the cushy. It's not bye-bye. It's just...
It's not the funeral. We're
Yeah.
just... Yeah.
It's just sleeping under my desk.
I perfectly put. You know, I think as entrepreneurs, one of the most important decisions we make is when to pursue something full force and when to let go of something when it's not working. I feel like both of those things for you happened at the same time.
Yes.
Because I still remember the conversation we were having, and you were just in the transition period to be like, I see something coming at me that I need to, but I have this thing that I need to shut
Yes.
down and kind of,
Yes.
but it's so hard because, and I think as entrepreneurs, I see it with you, we are interested in multiple things.
Yes.
And to really hone down on one thing has honestly been one of my biggest distractions,
Yes.
but I'm glad to see that I'm not alone. So this big thing that has taken over your life, actually one of the most brilliant endeavors that I've seen someone take on being in the same industry has been all over my feed. I have been watching you
love
grow.
hearing that.
So tell us
Yes.
what BGA is and what you're building.
Yes. To continue the stream of thought around businesses and why to start them and the reasons people start businesses, BGA was something that happened again to me. And I think when I think of the different types of entrepreneurs out there, there are entrepreneurs who they see it, they go for it, this is what makes it. And I feel a lot of the businesses that I've shared, they kind of happen to me. And which is why sometimes when I hear like the way you just described it, you know, you're a multifaceted entrepreneur, I'm like, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh my God.
You don't think of it like that.
I don't think that way. I think here's something that's an extension of me. Here's something that makes sense. So I'm just going to do, I'm like, oh yeah, wait, I'm an entrepreneur. That's right. And I think a part of that is the social conditioning because I grew up with parents who were like, no business. Business is bad. Stability.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't grow up with, I think like some of my friends who, you know, parents ran businesses. They grew up around business. For me, that wasn't the case. Business. My dad actually also tried running a business and it did not work out. And I think that was a big, heavy in the family that, you know, it was like, get a job, stable job, make sure, you know, you have like your 9 to 5, right? Yeah. 9 to 5. That's hilarious now at this point. Who says 9 to 5? Like, does 9 to 5 even exist? But yeah, it's like, actually, no, I think I met like one person once and I was like,
it's also this circle, right? Then you start surrounding yourself with similar people. So I don't even know anyone in my network, and no shame at all. Like I think people that have stability working 9 to 5, that have great jobs and are happy in their jobs, best thing ever.
Best thing ever.
But I find the opposite where people are really looking for other things to do and create other ways of, you know, sharing their purpose. So, but you're right. And to say that we've grown up, especially South Asians, to play it safe all the time.
Yes. And I think that especially applies to women. I don't think I'm totally off base to say that. Of course, so many varied experiences, and I keep reminding myself of that, but I think there's many women who would relate. So going back to Brown Girl Angels.
BGA. We wanted to define what is it? What is BGA?
Brown Girl Angels happened as a result of my own journey into post-divorce, wanting to put a nice bow and tie on the chapter, close it off. And for me, it's something that's always been my happy place is empowering, lifting, supporting, buying, whatever it is, South Asian women. They're always my happy place. It's where I feel safest. It's where I feel that I'm seen the most. And so I knew there was something in that community, is something for us that I wanted to do, and I didn't know what it looked like. And then meeting Trisha, the founder of Brown Girl Magazine, which is a media company based out of New York, an incredible community that really, again, integrates South Asian women and South Asian people into mainstream conversations. And something that I feel didn't exist for me growing up, and something that I wanted to support, was how my journey into angel investing began, which was, what do you need to keep this going, and how can I be a part of this? And so I wrote my first angel check, which now, understanding jargon better, it's an impact check that I wrote. Of course, you always have an eye for returns, but it was a check from a place of impact. And that evolved over time into a few more checks and a few more deals that came my way through some super angel friends like a lot of women might know in the city, Aarti Sharma. She's a super angel herself, and I think she's invested in, I don't even know, I think over 50 plus companies, and started to discover some deal flow, some opportunities for companies through her. And one thing kind of led to the next, but what it really led to was, where's the other, like, what's the communities or where's the spaces for me to now learn more about angel investing, for me to also be like, hey, I want to join and I want to be part of this. There wasn't one. There wasn't one in Canada. There's angel.
I haven't even heard of one outside of Canada that I've
come
across.
There's angel groups.
Yeah.
There's angel groups. And I have to say this too. This is because the question might pop up in one of your listeners' minds, and so let's talk about it, which is, well, girl, why'd you need to find a group that was all brown women?
I was just going to ask you, you could have done angel investing for women. Why particularly niche out into South Asian women? And can I ask also, where did the light bulb idea come to even think about angel investing? Like, I mean, sometimes you've got the money, but you never think about, hey, I should go invest in a business. So where did that happen for you?
So that exposure to the concept of investing in private markets came from two places. One, my ex-husband is a venture capitalist and an angel investor himself. So through osmosis of, you're around a partner or a friend or anyone you spend a lot of time with, you start to pick up proximity bias. You start to pick up a few things here or there. So I would say that was kind of one point of
entry.
The idea. The kind of, wait, I'm over here talking to Trisha about we talked about things like, can I do a podcast with you? Can I help promote Brown Girl magazine in Canada? Like, we had started there. So that was part one. But then there was a podcast that I highly recommend listening to from an Uber angel, one of the greats, Naval Ravikant, famously known for investing in Uber, Twitter, just to name two, and then of course now the founder of AngelList. I'd listened to his Art of Angel Investing, Intro to Angel Investing, I don't know the exact name, but it was his Intro to Angel Investing podcast series. So it was the light bulb moment of, oh, why am I talking to her about how can I support you through an event? What she most probably needs, as any business does, is I need an injection of capital to keep this going and to take this to the next level. And so that's where those two came together into, let me write a check. But let me tell you, and now Trisha and I laugh about this, I had to be like, oh yes, I will write an angel check. Wait, how do you write an angel check? Let me start Googling. Like, it was the...
Let me Google.
Yeah, let me start, right? Like, it was
it's new to you. It's new. It's not like you've done it before. It was a thought, light bulb moment with proximity with what you've known and marrying the two, which is incredible. Yes. I mean, also, why Trisha? I mean, I love her business. I love Brown Girl magazine. They've done such incredible work. But I almost wonder, and we'll get into this, when you think about angel investing, I think it's automatically the thought process, even if someone doesn't know, you think about product, or you think about an established business, or you think about, oh, these guys might go public. There's potential. I'm almost wondering, when you invested, what were they at that time? And what did you of like go all in with? What did you bet on? What was was it just the connection and the friendship and you're like, hey, this would be great? Or were you a little bit more calculated?
Yeah, great question. So you don't have to be an investor, or, you just have to be an observer of trends to see that the content creator media company model is so of the moment now. Example again, for people I think we just generally like to look at what's the big example in the market. Gary Vee is the big example in the market, right? Like, we all know of that model of who is your defined audience and how are you building content, community, and commerce, and how are you building that flywheel around an audience that you feel is engaged and understands that you're building this for them. And to me, when I initially discovered Brown Girl magazine, it was like, first of all, it was just a simple, hey, this was something I wished existed when I was younger, talking about all the things that I thought were taboo, or just having a space to connect about everything from politics to religion to pop culture to Bollywood and whatnot. But as a media company, now seeing, and as she continues to build, the content piece, which is that roster of really deep relationships with South Asian content creators, the commerce with Ludky Power and all the different merch and all the different things that she was building, it started to me to become apparent that this is the model of the future. This is, and I say the future because I was looking at it, 2018, 2019, of content, community, commerce, the 3 C's. And now we're seeing that model everywhere. We're seeing it in Hello Sunshine. We're seeing it with Gary Vee. There's now multiple content creators who have now built the audience first, and then they build the merch and the this and that. So that was, to me, it was pretty straightforward, and it still is, which is she is and has been the first to build that for the South Asian diaspora. There are wonderful companies that have come in and brands that have come in after that, Brown Girl Angels included, but Brown Girl Magazine was the definitive first company to create that.
I agree. I still remember seeing them years ago take up the space, and I was like, finally. It was like this, oh my God, finally there's a company, a media company that's highlighting our voices.
Yeah.
And do you now look back and kind of be like, thank God I was the first one to get onto this train? Or like, what was, I guess, how did you feel writing that check? And how did you even know how to create this type of deal? What are the typical exchanges that happen in angel investing, I guess?
So we can talk about a couple of things. One, well, first about Brown Girl Magazine, I think the feeling was mission accomplished for the bow and tie of I am now starting my next chapter. 7-year divorce, which is for many women who've gone through it, and I've said this many times, it can feel like its own part-time job. You're like, my side hustle is getting divorced.
Girl, 10 years here.
Right?
10-year divorce is like, oh my God, it's like huge chapter in my life.
It is the constant, it's there always, and you're thinking about it, working on it, and then especially when there's, children in the mix. For me, that from an impact, but also personal point of view, it was, okay, I've now made an investment in this company. My focus is now shifting away into this company and wanting to be an active angel investor, because you can write a check and just be like, here's the check, let me know how it goes, or let me know when there's another round that you're raising or whatever that is. But I wanted to be an active investor. So there was that was one part, I would say, of what it meant to me. But secondly, it was this foray into a space that like what you said, I just didn't think that I belonged. And it was really when I connected those dots and I was like, wait, business needs capital. Doing something that is the trend, not even the trend, but the model of what companies are moving towards. And I have capital. And I care about the kind of company that she's building, and I see where it can go and what its path to acquisition or what its path could look like. So for me, the feeling was just a feeling of excitement, nervousness, amazing, gratitude, all of the things. It's never one thing, but more than anything, it's just this feeling of like, and now we begin.
And is that where it all started?
And that is where it all started.
So since then, I know you've written other checks. I was just watching your stories literally today, and you were talking about all the wonderful things that are coming.
Yeah.
I think maybe I want to rewind back and start with, what is the skeleton of angel investing?
Yeah.
If someone came to you, and I know you have a course on this and you're going to share a lot of content, but if someone said, hey, I didn't even know this was possible, but walk me through a framework of angel investing.
Yeah. So one of the first things to obviously answer is, well, what is angel investing? And it's sometimes easier to explain a kind of a two for one punch, whatever that phrasing is, of what it is and how it is different from venture, which is a word now that gets tossed around a lot. So angel investing is investing one's personal capital, an individual's personal monies, either on their own, pooled together with other individuals, and investing that in a company at various stages of its growth, everything from just started an idea to all the way I'm now making 10 million, whatever that is. And it's investing in that company in exchange for a piece of that company, in exchange for a piece of ownership of that company. And how the ownership is given to you can look different, almost always in the form of shares. But the mechanism in which you write that check can look a little different. It can look like, if you're pooling it, if you're writing a check individually, it could look like a price round. There's now you're getting into the how, but
so it's
really
customizable.
It's custom. It's there are different ways you can do it, depending on, of course, where the founder is at in their journey, how well the company is doing, how hot the product or the service or what they're creating is. So there's a bunch of different variables. But at its very core, it's I got money, I got capital, I'm looking to take my $1, and I think your business can one day generate, through a couple of different ways, going public, being bought out, I think it can generate me $10 one day. And so I'm going to give you my $1 because you need it right now. And I'm going to hope, pray, and do a lot more than that, more than hope and pray. I'm going to actively support you so that you are put in the best position to one day turn that $1 into $10. And when you do, based on how much I own of that company, I'm going to get a chunk of that $10 back. At the simplest of terms.
Okay. And then you say the difference between angel and venture. So venture is?
Venture is when you're taking your money and you're saying, you seem like someone who really knows how to find good companies and also invest in them. So can I give you my money and can you go and find companies and invest in them for me? And when one of those companies does well, can you send me a check? So you are giving your money to someone else to go invest. As an angel investor, you yourself are making that decision. Now, what an angel group is, which is what Brown Girl Angels is it's a bunch of different individuals who are pooling those monies, their individual monies, and saying, we're now going to collectively invest in this company. It's our individual monies, though. And I'm not making that decision for them. I am bringing deal flow to them to say, here's some companies to invest in. The ones that I'm bringing to you are all led by South Asian women. And these are the reasons I think these companies are viable and they're scalable, and there is an opportunity one day that they will, and the one day could be 4 years, 5 years, 8 years plus. Here's companies that I think will generate us a return on your dollar. Or they might not, which we should talk about that in a second, because I think there's some issue I take with how angel investing is talked about in the social space, but we'll talk about that in a second. But at the very core, an angel group is collectively pooling our individual funds and deciding to invest in a company for a piece of ownership of that company.
So I'm curious to know, you could have just gone the angel investing route and just invested yourself and done the thing that you did.
Yeah.
Why
and do it part-time too, right? And just continued on with Cushy and continued on with,
Yeah. Why did you want to feel like there's a need to create a group of South Asian women, then pooling in their money? What was the purpose behind that? And that's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Right? When you could simply just go do it on your own.
Yeah, where I could just be doing this on my own, and it's a part-time, which is the reality of many angel investors. You don't know they're angel investing. They might not talk about it. They don't have a profile, so to speak. This is actually part of what makes the journey sometimes difficult for founders to be like, well, where are these angel investors? How am I finding them, right? These individual high net worth people. For me, I think going back to what I was saying earlier, after I made a few angel investments, reached out to a few friends who I knew also were angel investors, conversations I think just started to naturally happen between friends who I was just sharing what I was doing, and a couple of us kind of co-invested in some deals. I brought a friend or two on to Brown Girl magazine as well. A couple of us invested together in Avrani and Sahajan, and I have to really credit these friends of mine. Neeraja, who herself is an angel investor out of New York, and she runs a fantastic PR agency.
I still remember meeting her. She's doing incredible things too.
And she's really, truly one of the definitive women to represent, South Asian brands. Aarti, as I've mentioned before, I started to kind of say, this is something that's needed beyond a few of the group. I think it was like 7 or 8 of us that I remember on a Slack group. I think I'd called us. I'm like, oh, we're like Brown Girl Angels. I meant that as like a, like your Slack name, a cute name. Yeah.
But literally, I mean, we are like Brown Girl
Angels. Yeah. And that was the beginning of it, and that was a few years ago. And of course, I shouldn't say of course. I think, as I've described in my other businesses, the response initially is like me, like the same. It was like, why am I hawking a foot cushion? Or why am I, in the same way, it was like, I'm not from finance. I'm going to run an angel group. Like, why? I couldn't. And there was a lot of that initial conversation that I now kind of chuckle and think, thank God you didn't listen to that fool. Like, I'm so glad I went forward.
Yeah. I was going to say, were you experiencing imposter syndrome?
Very much.
I mean, after all this wealth of experience, after writing your check, why? Where was that coming from? What did you feel?
A couple of things. One was I think I was still in the learning process of like, that's angel investing. To run an angel group is only for people who have been knee deep in finance. They come from venture. They're hella wealthier than I am. They're,
there's levels. There's different levels to this shit.
As I love to say, I'm Dollarama rich.
I like that. I don't mind being Dollarama rich, okay?
Dollarama rich, bitch.
I mean, but I was going to say, it must feel like, how does it feel knowing that you are an angel investor? I feel like that's like the epitome of kind of like, not even stature, but just you are the person that is giving another business, another woman, the opportunity to scale and grow her business.
I mean, you're hired. This is what I keep trying to convey to women. I'm like, I have the Birkin 2 girls. I have the other things that I'm sure, the jewelry, the
but
house.
Then what?
It's like the joy of seeing and knowing that you are a part of the story of enabling. And for me, it could be a woman. It could be for me, it's enabling another brown woman's dream to solve a pain point, to solve a problem, to address an inequality. The companies that South Asian women are building are not just in beauty, which is what I sometimes hear people say. Nothing wrong with that. I'm invested in 2 beauty companies.
That too is a space that has been so underserved. It only makes sense that we finally, I don't want to say we, but yes, we finally took over that space because there was I was going to ask you what...
It is an amazing feeling.
Yeah. What industries are you seeing are underserved and that you're noticing South Asian women are taking over?
I mean, let me answer it this way and say, we are in a lot more verticals than you think. Whether it's supply chain logistics, hi Ratna from Flavor Cloud, based out of Seattle, whether it's transportation, hi Boats, Navier, check that out, that's out of San Francisco, whether it's like name an industry, beauty, automotive, supply, like I said, supply chain, tech, obviously SaaS companies. Like
I see the founder series you share, and I'm like, even travel. When you shared it, I was like, oh my God, I didn't know there were other brown girls doing this.
So like Flashpack, Radha, we are in all verticals. Now, I think there are verticals that, like I said, beauty, I think, is a space that it makes sense. We index high for women in beauty. We should index high for women in beauty. It makes sense, right? So that the thing with that is cool. The thing that I want to convey is we are in all these other spaces. Let's celebrate them and let's have these women be elevated and be seen, because there's a young woman, your daughter, your sister, your cousin, who's watching and saying, oh, I didn't know there was women in that space. I can do that too. It might not be a conscious thought, but we know for sure it's a subconscious thought that goes, I can do it if I see it.
Are you finding that there is also a stereotype with a South Asian woman trying to raise for her business and a gap because not only is it male dominated, then you add the South Asian part. What have you noticed that you didn't quite like, and that is the truth, versus what you're trying to build and solve?
The stat that you'll see thrown all over the place, and it's thrown all over the place because it's true and it's abysmal, that's why, is that only 2%, now 4% in Canada, I'll speak specific to Canada, 4% of women-founded companies receive venture funding in Canada. 4%, which is not reflective of the many wonderful attributes that we bring as female founders, co-founders, and our chops, because there's stats around the fact that when you do have a company that's led by a woman, that it outperforms companies led by men. Like these stats are everywhere, so I don't want to spend too much time
and
on
please
that,
feel free to share them, because I think that not only is it important to get funded, but getting funded by a woman versus a male. I mean, founder of It Cosmetics, she talked about it. She's like, I couldn't get funded because I was pitching to all these old white men that were that didn't understand what rosacea was. So like similarly, brown girl funded companies pitching to brown girls, you need someone that also understands that. And just I think that's where it becomes just women. It's a woman problem. The reason, and going back to an earlier point of like, well, you were looking for other relatable spaces. Why didn't you just join the many wonderful all female angel groups? True, those are wonderful, and I love the work, and I don't see us as competition. I see us as collaborators. It's just that I'm brown, and I like being around brown girls. I don't know. I know that there's some like golf clubs where it's all men only. Even to this day, it's only men allowed. I don't know, why do they like doing it? Because bros like hanging around bros, chicks like hanging around chicks. I don't know why this is such a difficult concept for people to get. Yeah, I agree. I think at some point it's going to be like, not just why are you investing in brown girls? It's like, just I am brown, so I mean, I don't know. Is that a question?
Yeah, my whole thing is, as long as a bunch of white bros are getting together and saying, I like being around white bros, investing in other white bros. I like being around brown girls and investing in brown girls.
I honestly, that is such a turn on. I'm not going to lie.
I am just copying you guys.
Creating my own little.
So that's the only reason. That's the only reason. But for me, that was the reason of Brown Girl Angels. Is like, well, I want to create a space. I want to create a space for my girls, and let's also have some chai while we're at it, and let's have some samosas.
I think I saw something on your social that had a word in there. What was it? Okay, I got to go back but I thought that was so clever the way that you did it. I don't know if it was chai
and chat or
chai something chai chat. I was like, this is so clever.
And in the investor form, we go, can we have your bio data? I'm like, it's a different kind of bio data.
But also it's like so relatable, because I think for so long we've like hidden these like brown like quirks about us that now just redefining them and being like, we can be traditional, we're westernized, but we still like embody our culture and where we come from. So well, but also I feel like there's finally been a voice given to that, and not been like, we have to be so Canadian and so westernized. Like it's okay to really showcase your culture.
The other reason Brown Girl Angels needs to exist is because there are so many badass South Asian women who are in jobs that pay well. They are doing well. I just don't mean doctors, lawyers, engineers. I know these women. I can see, I mean, if we want to even measure it on bag wealth, if we want to measure it on Sephora wealth, like they're
true,
right? They're doing well.
I was just gonna say, even with when I travel with the girls trip, we have women from all over, and I've had like women that are doctors and like lawyers, but it's almost like you would think that they know that because they are high income earners that they're maybe doing something with their money, like me being in real estate investing. It's like still such a new concept. Oh yeah, maybe I should think about that. Similarly, I was going to ask you, what is your advice to women that might have high paying jobs and have a little bit of disposable income, and they heard this podcast and they're like, ooh, I never thought about that before. Can you give us an idea of like how much money should you be investing? What kind of companies? And then you are building BGA. So is that an entry into?
It is.
Tell me.
Yes. So let's talk about, there are some regulations in the US and Canada, and as I've mentioned before, this is a global conversation, so I'll speak about it at least in the Western Hemisphere, right? We'll talk about US and Canada. So for women to, first of all, explore angel investing, that your net worth is irrelevant. There's courses like the ones we offer, which are in a room of South Asian women in a relatable spaces, taught by a South Asian female angel and VC herself. So
you're teaching that course?
That course is being offered by BGA. The next one is coming up. I'm not sure when this pod is launching, but the next one is coming up April 4th, but we'll have ones after that.
I think you and I are also at Run the Summit.
Yes, we are.
She's like, I was like,
yes, I know. This is going to be our thing. I'll be like, I don't want to see you unless we are at an event in a pod or doing content.
No, but it's great. Everything's aligning. Anyways, continue.
So to take the angel investing course, anyone can take it. I mean, that part of my learning journey was actually taking an angel investing course I found online. So, that's what the wonderful thing is, that we now offer it in a room of relatable faces. And
so start there.
From a capital point of view, and this is an important thing, because this is where I think I was saying earlier, there's conversations around the sexiness, as you had mentioned, of being an angel investor. I have ownership and I have supported this person in the company is a sexy thing, but it's not your entry into financial literacy. It is not your entry. It is not the first thing you do when you have investable capital. Have your stock portfolio, angel investing is a higher risk asset class. Imagine money that you put into angel investing as money that you're burning. That is, as these two things can coexist. Yes, and what is happening on social right now, as it can happen when people respond to seeing the word angel investor and this idea that, wow, that guy invested $5,000 in Uber and it's now worth $125 million.
That's all you hear.
That's all you hear. Those are true, but like with many things about, hey, every business succeeds, we now are at a point where we're educated enough to know that's not true. So in the same way, it is important that people understand it is a high-risk asset class with an investable money that you have that you should just say, I don't expect to see it again. I am supporting this founder. I believe in this founder. I believe this company, this product, this idea, whatever that is, but I don't have a guaranteed return.
So would you say someone should already have other means of investing, like stocks, real estate,
yes,
or
1,000%.
Okay.
Yes.
Not something I got $20K lying around in my bank account. Let me go
angel invest.
And I have no
stock portfolio. I have no other investments. I have, whether it's real estate, whatever the other investable, whatever the asset classes are, explore those first. Have some of those set up first before you explore angel investing. Now, when I say this to people, they're like, but what if a hot company that I just think this is the moment now? Okay, that can happen, but I would still say one thing and a reason why I think many women should become angel investors is you learn really quickly not to succumb to FOMO. There will be another one. And so you learn to say no a lot more than you say yes, because not every business is a fit, and it might not be the right fit for you as an angel in terms of what you can bring beyond the check. So from a capital point of view, and there's constructs in place with the SEC federally in the US and in Canada provincially, where there's a term called are you an accredited investor? Accredited investors are people that have to have at least individually a net worth of $200,000 for the past 2 years, or $300,000 with their partner, spouse, whatever that arrangement is. One of these things. And that's the same in the US. And you have to have in Canada, and this is one of the differences between Canada and the US, you have to have a combined net worth of $5 million across all asset classes. So that's real estate and any of your asset classes. Or
that's in Canada?
This is in Canada. In the US, that's not part of their accreditation list.
Did you say it was 200 to 300 in the US?
From an income perspective, 200,000 or more for the past 2 years, with a reasonable amount to make the same in the future years. So that's for accredited investors, which is what BGA works with. We work with women who are accredited investors, again, for the simple fact that we ain't playing with monopoly money out here.
Yeah.
We're playing with money, with hard-earned money. And as one of the first South Asian female angel groups, a lot of women are first-time angels. The last thing I want to do is be irresponsible in kind of telling a story for likes, shares, and engagement.
Absolutely.
And that's the piece that I think is starting to irk me a bit when I see that from some content creators where I'm like, what are you talking about? Yes, Canva, Melanie Perkins. Oh my God, one of the incredible stories about hundreds and hundreds of rejections she received because people just didn't understand her business. And now it's, multiple billions of dollars. Yes, it's an amazing story, but we need to also tell the other side, which is that a lot of angel investments that you make will go to zero. So there's a way to deal with that. How do you deal with that? You obviously diversify your angel checks. You write more checks, not less.
What does BGA do in terms of the community then?
So BGA and jargon just for educating the audience, BGA has an investment thesis. An investment thesis is fancy words for this is what we fund. This is who you should come to us for, like as a founder.
I was just going to ask you, so what are some businesses and communities that BGA believes in and kind of has led the way into some angel investing?
So our investment thesis is we focus on seed to Series A. That's a stage of the type of funding you're raising, the reflection of the stage your company is at. We invest in seed to Series A businesses.
Can you give me an example, seed to Series A? For anyone that listening that doesn't even know this world.
Yeah, so a seed round tends to be, and these are very broad statements before someone comes at me in the comments, but seed companies tend to be pre-revenue. They tend to be, kind of under 1M in revenue.
Can it be a concept?
In this day and age, they call that pre-seed.
Okay.
But this whole, there's no defined rules that this is called seed, this is called pre-seed. These are phrases that the founder decides, and it's also a representation as well of your intention in the future of how you're going to raise. You're calling this seed or pre-seed. That kind of is part of your strategy of how you're going to raise capital in the future or not. Series A tends to start to get a little bit more defined, and then after that it's B, C, D. I mean, it's not.
And also,
it's not fancy.
One of the other narratives that I found talking to, we have a founder of Basma Beauty coming on too.
Yes.
And I also saw Bloom go viral on TikTok because after the tariffs came into play, she said, guys, we are such a small company. We literally are trying to just make it. Yeah. And I think when you see all these big brands funded, you just automatically imagine millionaire status. They've made it. They're there. But what I'm noticing more is because these founders are saying, guys, we are literally bootstrapped. We have 3-4 employees, sure, but it doesn't mean we're making millions of dollars. We're trying to keep up with demand. Yeah. So are you finding that being on the other side funding these companies, because then they have pressure and as
I mean, a phrase that's used often is is it keep the lights on money, right? Sometimes the capital that's being raised is keep the lights on money. Sometimes the capital being raised is, hey, I'm raising capital because I'm about to make an entry into retail, and that means purchasing a lot of inventory, and purchasing a lot of inventory costs a lot of money. Yeah. So, let's call it kind of like this is the Sephora round because we're trying to make our entry into Sephora. So the capital is you would hope, and the expectation is that there's a clear set of an understanding of what is this capital being used for. Going back to your question about the investment thesis, so seed to Series A, we invest in companies of that stage, and we invest in companies across all industries, all verticals, but the number one defining factor is it has to have at least one South Asian female founder. Yeah. And that is really important. And the question that sometimes I get is, oh my God, are you going to run out of companies? I'm like,
girl, no. Because there's more coming.
There's more coming. Whether it's there's companies in South Africa.
I just love incredible. What you're doing, Bhargavi. Honestly, it's like a little girl's dream come true, because it's almost like I'm getting goosebumps. It's like watching something on TV and being like, will someone do this for me? Because you just don't see yourself, and who is going to believe in your dreams. Now, I know you've got a whole system of looking at it. Does this company make revenue? Does this have potential? I feel like we can go on. We need another episode, but I want to end off. Which companies have you invested in? Mm-hmm. Where is BGA going? What's next? Give me what's happening.
So other companies that people might know we've invested in are Avrani, I've mentioned earlier, Sahajan, a Canadian company.
Sahajan's story. Oh my God.
Lisa Matam she's the person that I'm like, oh, you're selling ice to an Eskimo, here's money. Sometimes you invest in the founder, especially at that early stage, you're going, oh, this person has it. Lisa Matam is that.
And it's crazy because you saw her take authentic, real content marketing on her own self and build a multi-million-dollar brand.
Yeah, incredible. MyFo is another one, and it's really important to mention that because it's Vancouver-based, it's Canadian. But we invest my first investment was US-based, so we invest in the UK, where I'm looking at a company right now that's really well known in the UK as well.
So exciting.
So there's lots of great companies out there. But my FO is My Family Office, run by Simran Kang, and she is killing it right now. It is Simran Kang, not from Simran from Girls That Invest.
Okay.
But she was also part of how the journey of BGA started. So
I remember that was the event that you did.
That's right.
And I think I will never forget that event. I don't know what the feeling was. I know you got that after.
It was a huge part of let me do this.
Yeah.
Let me stop with the nonsense of in here. I am a conduit to something that so many South Asian women need on the founder side, on the investor side. And going back to what you were saying, there is an agency, there is a power, there is a feeling of I am here, I matter when you put your money into a company that you believe in, and when that company is run by another South Asian woman. It's an incredible feeling. And I want, again, I'm jokingly saying it, beyond the Birkin and beyond the Sephora halls, like this needs to be the number 3 thing. There's going to be a day, and this is my life's work, a day where the way we talk about what bag did you buy, what shoes did you buy, what company did you invest in? Oh, you're invested in that? The way we all have side hustles is the way we are all going to be invested in a company. And that is my mission. That is what I want, because I know the value of that on both sides of the table.
Oh my God, I have goosebumps. I really do.
My ask is join me.
Yeah.
We're early.
How does someone join? So what does that look like?
First of all, are you an accredited investor? If you are, go to browngirlangels.com. We have a form that's, as I call it, it's the biodata. Fill out the biodata. I'm not trying to marry you.
We're just trying to marry you to business.
You're just trying to marry you to business. I love that. I'm using that. And, I get on a call with you, understand, there's the other piece too is I'm building an angel group, but I'm also building a media company around it.
I love that. I see that.
I'm launching our podcast, the content, all of the things, the newsletter that's free to learn about all the things that South Asian women are doing in business.
Bhargavi, I was also going to say, I don't want to end this podcast, but I was going to say, I think you have also shown up differently now that you've realized your mission and your one focus, because the second that you did, I watched you grow, and I'm not talking about just in numbers, but now when you show up online and you're sharing something, it's like, oh wow, this is what she knows how to do, this is what she's great at, and it shows through the way you communicate, the way you speak, what you're building. So it's just, the last thing I want to touch on is, I know you said that you're turning 50.
Yes.
Correct? When is that?
That is in December, and I have a goal for BJA attached to it.
Okay. Do you want to share that?
Yes, absolutely. My goal is that it would be an incredible birthday gift for there to be 50 members in Brown Girl Angels or more by my 50th birthday in December.
Wow. That is...
If we double it or triple it, I won't be mad. But 50 by 50.
Wow. I think so many women forget that in your 40s, you can still create something amazing, right? Because every year that we get older, there's this innate fear that keeps growing. Yeah. And to really rebuttal that fear requires so much energy and confidence and whatnot. And you're like the perfect example, because I feel like it doesn't matter whether you've been privileged, you have capital or not. Yeah. The difference between two people that has is the person who does it at the end of the day, who actually takes the bold actions.
Who takes $5,000 is the minimum investment with Brown Girl Angels when you're an accredited investor. I know y'all have $5,000.
Stop buying that Gucci and that Prada.
That's why I say put the gold down, girl.
You know what?
Pick up the shares instead.
I will say that is the future, because I know girls now that just talk about investing and growing their wealth like how men used to do it all these years, and it's finally.
And thank God, the Simrans, the Tory Dunlaps. Oh my God, the L Invest, the Female Invest. Thank God for all these accounts, and that's what I always say. I'm like, I meet women who are like, "Hey, I want angel invest." I'm like, amazing, but first pick up Simran Kaur's book, Girls That Invest, or pick up Tory Dunlap's book, My First 100K. Then we'll also talk about this. It's part of an entire portfolio, of which actually angel investing should be one of the smallest, because it's an alternative asset, right? Like it should be one of the smaller parts of your...
I think the conversation from personal finance to financial education, real estate, stocks,
and this is where you come
other
in.
assets, and then angel investing all need to, I feel like we all need to like put together a conference or summit or somewhere where there is this, okay. I see what's coming. You know, actually the next guest is Mallory Rowan. Do you know her?
Mallory.
She's also going to be one of the speakers at Run the World Summit.
Amazing.
Another like
Zaina.
incredible talent that is now, she moved from Ottawa to Toronto, and she's hitting the stages, speaking, a lot of personal finance, a lot of like investing and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I've had so much fun talking about this. I feel now we're finally caught up.
I know.
Over
Please
a podcast.
only contact me when you have a pod for me to talk on.
But is this one of your, I know you've been on multiple podcasts, but like in Toronto, like have you been out and about kind of like, what is your...
Have I done a pod in Toronto? No, the other pod I did was virtual. Oh my God, I'll tell you this. This is my first in-person.
Okay, good. Yay, I feel so special.
Well, either that or if like two people watch, you're like,
Hey, it's okay if two people watch. Okay, we're not here for the views. We really are here to push along this conversation. And like... if I think about it, we met through a DM. Like we met over our Airbnbs that never worked out. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, the new conversations, the new business is happening in two places. It's happening on LinkedIn and it's happening in Insta DMs.
Honestly, it's so funny.
Really
My husband the other day was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm in my DMs because that's where business goes down."
That's where business goes down. So, I mean, of course, to all the lovely men who want to fly me out to India to marry them, just let me know how many airplane points you have. But
she
I'm
is single.
DMs. I am single.
Listen, 50 is fabulous.
Story. That's a whole other pod.
Okay, we'll come back. Okay, because I want to know. I want to know dating in your 40s. I want to know what's happening.
Lots to talk about.
Thank you so much for coming on. Can I leave you with one last question, though?
Yes, please.
What is a wealthy life to you?
I want to breathe before I say that and think of just blurting out an answer. What is a wealthy life? Health.
Which is so nice to see.
Which is the
we
joy.
Didn't get into
I
that.
know. We didn't even get into co-parenting. I mean, I'm back from Turks. I have so much to say. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, I'm already booking you in for another.
Yeah, I would say it's that, but the word I won't use is balance. That word can just also sit by the wayside. I don't know about that word.
I'm on it with you on that
Health, relationships, travel, like basically having my hand in a lot of different buckets and all the things that energize me. That is a wealthy life. And I always look at it looking back. I look at it saying, okay, at 80 something, at 90 something, what would that look like? I find I'm able to answer that question easier looking back than looking forward.
Thank you, Bhargavi Varma, for coming on the Wellthy Woman Podcast. It was an honor.
Thank you.
Honestly.
It's just a joy of my life, and you allowed me a space to speak about it, so thank you.